Now, I don't know about you guys, but Citadelle Des Morts is filling top 5 to me. Now, obviously, that's not my final verdict. I need to, more experience the map, get to round 100, just to experience everything the map has to offer. But at least my initial feelings is that this map is great. And, I mean, there's just so much to love about it. I mean, the things we knew about it going into it, the location being on a medieval castle again, and I think it's done that very, very well. I also love the whole vibe of this map. Something that is kind of overlooked by a lot of people is just the ambience to the map. When you're in the village, you hear children crying in the distance, or just creepy noises based on where you are in the map, or the dripping water in the watery areas of the map. Like where you are, there's an environment to that, and that's something that I feel like a lot of zombies maps kind of miss a lot of times, or just don't do it as well, but this map does that so well. Kind of on that same vein is, I guess, the music of this map. Like, we have a return of a soundtrack that is actually very immersive to it. Along working with that ambient sounds and noises in the map, you have the soundtrack, whether it is the round change music that I really like, or especially when you complete Easter egg steps, you hear unique sounds and music, or even when you craft a wonder weapon. Like, that is so cool. That is exactly how you build immersion into a zombies game. And honestly, I'm just really straight up with you guys, is one of my weaknesses. When you have a map that does stuff like that, I'm automatically just going to love it so much more for that. I mean, you think about my top 3 maps of all time: Origins, Mob of the Dead, and Reisendrache. They all do that, and they all do it so well, and this map does it just the same. But besides just the vibes and ambience and music of the map, I mean, there's the actual gameplay of this map too. Of course, the main thing that everyone wants to draw their eyes to is the 4 wonder weapons, the elemental swords, which, by the way, are super cool looking and all that. Now, I have heard some complaints that people wish that they were stronger. Personally, I haven't dealt with too many issues with them. They seem strong enough to me personally, but I feel like that's because people aren't using the proper augments on Melee Macchiato, which I made a YouTube short about. If you guys want to check that out, hopefully I'll link it on screen. But honestly, I haven't had too many issues with them thinking they're too weak. Now, keep in mind, I haven't done high rounds on this map. I don't know how viable they are for high rounds when you have super sprinters. Like, that probably is going to make them a lot less useful, because the swing only hits one zombie. So I can definitely see that, and the special ability takes a while to charge and a couple kills to charge. So I can definitely see in the high rounds that it might not be as useful, which I completely understand that criticism. But I mean, wonder weapons not being great on higher rounds is not like unique to this map. Of course, it's not ideal, but it's not like a crazy bad thing that's never been seen before. But it is interesting seeing that when we do have 4 of them, and none of them seem to be that viable on higher rounds. Now, I think people don't realize something about these. I don't think people even figured out what they are yet, but each of these swords have some passive abilities that I've been trying to figure out what they are, because I don't think they say on screen when you actually pick them up. But just trust me on this one, try to use that light sword. I think that one's the one that you're going to want to use, because I think its passive ability is to actually heal armor place for each kill that you get. But even with that said, I think these wonder weapons are amazing for that rounds 1 through 30. Like, the low to mid rounds, they're great, and anybody saying they aren't, I just don't really understand why. Like, they are amazing. But then, of course, the next thing you look at is obviously the Easter egg, and the Easter egg steps themselves is kind of similar to something we've seen like on Origins, for example, where the Easter egg is just mainly crafting all 4 wonder weapons, which I don't think there's anything entirely wrong with that, but that's what this Easter egg is once again. And it's kind of my biggest, like, small complaint I have with Black Ops 6 as a whole so far, is that the Easter eggs are just, like, the steps for them aren't that crazy. Like, I mean, they're just not any, like, incredibly cool Easter egg steps in this game so far. But of course that is made up for when you see things like the boss fight. Like, bro, we're fighting a freaking golem, bro. This was insane. I haven't had my heart race in a boss fight in so long, and this map actually did that. Like, the Terminus boss fight I thought was so cool, and I was having a ton of fun doing it. I still think that's a top tier boss fight, but this one visually is insane, bro. This golem boss fight I loved so much, because it is very thrilling and challenging and looks really cool. But the biggest thing is that challenging thing I just said. Like, this is something that I was actually struggling with at first. Now, to be fair, it's because I brought in a trash gun, I found out, because on my second attempt where I successfully did it, it was much easier, but still, it seems like it is a more difficult boss fight. But I always want to preface this, especially around launch, that I don't know that for sure, because it is launch and people might find some weird strategies to make it a breeze like we've seen over and over again in the past. But regardless, even if they end up finding that, this boss fight is still already top tier. And I think then everything's said and done with this game, I think we're going to look back at it at probably having the best boss fights ever. Like, we already have like 2 top 3 boss fights ever for a Treyarch Zombies game, and we've only had 3 maps. Like, that is insane to me. Like, these boss fights are crazy. Now, I want to get into the story of this map, and I'm going to be talking about spoilers, so if you're trying to avoid those, then click over this part, but I'm assuming you've already like experienced all the story you want to experience naturally. But of course, the big things that we see through this is that we see like magic being introduced into this dark ether story, which was interesting because like in Cold War, it seemed like they really wanted to keep the story grounded, like they wanted to keep it realistic to an extent, right? Like everything was working with like things that existed in real life, the CIA and the obviously the Soviets and the Cold War that was happening. It's just the only difference is that there was this Ethereum, and Ethereum was cool and all that, but it wasn't nearly as powerful as things even like 115. It couldn't do any of those crazy things. But then comes Black Ops 6, and now we're just doing anything, bro. Now the chaos storyline is just straight up canon to it, meaning magic and the gods and supernatural are also canon to all this, which is an insane like change of pace for this story. It's something I really didn't expect going into this, but my gosh, that is straight up what we're doing here, and I'm honestly here for it. And it's also even crazier when we learn things like Gabriel Kraft actually ended up adopting Eddie when he was a kid, of course now known as Richtofen in this, who's the director of all that, and explaining the story, and I'll be making a video explaining all of that in the very near future. But like, it's just so crazy seeing all the revelations and things happening with this story. It honestly feels like there's so much to keep track of. Like, it's honestly insane the amount of things that are happening all at once that I don't even know what to really focus on with this story. Like, I want to focus on the Richtofen stuff, but I have to remember, like, Richtofen isn't even a playable character anymore, guys. Like, we gotta pay attention to our characters, which might be a little criticism of this story so far, is that, you know, the main characters, like our main crew, seem to be falling to the shadows to the characters on the side, which is, I don't know how to feel about, but honestly, I'm enjoying the story so far. And speaking of the story, like, one thing that is really cool uniquely to Citadelle Des Morts is that we have a unique cutscene just for Maya, because as we learn in Terminus, Franco and the leader of this French syndicate is actually the one who went sent Maya's brother over to Terminus, and ended up becoming that weird thing that we ended up killing during the Easter egg and all that stuff. And of course, we have a cutscene just for her where she goes and hunts down Franco and kills him. Like, what? That is so cool to me. Like, I don't even know what more to say about that. Like, that is just so cool that we have a whole side plot just done on the side. Like, it's a completely optional thing, and it doesn't even take really any, I guess, extra things to do, which is just crazy to see. So I don't know, dude. There's just too much going on in this story that I'm so excited for all of it. Like, I just don't even know what to do with this story right now. I'm just excited. But regardless, though, those are my thoughts on Citadelle Des Morts, at least a day after it coming out. Again, right now, I'm feeling like this is a top 5 map, but again, like I said, as always, things cool down, and then I get a more objective view of it, or as objective as it could get, but we'll have to wait until we get there. But for now, this is how I'm feeling about it, and I'm feeling great about not only Citadelle Des Morts, but Black Ops 6 and the future of it. But regardless, though, that's all I really have to say. I'd love to hear what you guys think about what I have to say. I know some people have some criticisms of this map that I don't really get too much, so maybe you guys could explain it to me down in the comment section below. Regardless, though, that's going to wrap it up for me. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and I'll have to catch you guys in the next one.